Hey everyone, so today I'm not in my usual place. Usually I'm over in the, what do you call it, 书房, my study, I guess you could call it that. Yeah, I was in I usually am in my study, but today the people behind us are under construction, so there's going to be jackhammers going on pretty much throughout the day, and that's been going on for about what, like half a year now. So I think you, dear viewers, would rather not hear a symphony of jackhammers in the background the entire video. So because you want to hear the luscious tones of my own voice, you know you do. Okay, but anyway, oh yeah, also observe the airplane sweater. This is one of my favorite sweaters, and I got this on clearance at what's that place called? It's two letters, and I always forget the two letters. H and C or something like that. You probably know what I'm talking about, but it's great how uh, Chinese people's um, style is like so different than the West that all the good stuff is on clearance. And then all the stuff with logos and stuff that nobody likes in the US will get eaten up really quickly. But anyway, that's not what we're talking about today. Today, we are going to talk about time for language learning. And this is something that everyone always complains to me is okay, where do you find the time to learn a language? Because a language, you really do need to. This is not a day's task. Of course, it's not a day's task. Of course, it's not a week's task. Of course, it's not a month's task. It's also not a year's task. Maybe some people can learn faster than others through certain methods, but a lot of people aren't going, especially their first, second language, they're not going to learn in a year, you know. So, but you can learn a lot in a year, and you have to look at it in a sense of years, not months. I think a lot of people give up even after the first week. Usually, a lot of people, I think I've said this before, a lot of people give up within the range of at minimum a week and at maximum a month. This is most people. And so you just need to get over that hump. That's what I always call the honeymoon period. You get really fascinated and you're really excited to learn a new language and learn something new, but then you get to the point where you realize, oh, I need to do this every day, and I need to actually, practice and keep it up and maintain it, and or else, you use it, you lose it, kind of thing. So uh, that was I already talked about the motivation issue in my last video. I think it was my last video, but this time I want to actually talk about time. So where do you find the time? You really what it is how do you make the time? Or how do you utilize your time better? And did you hear what I just said there? Utilize. I'm smarter than all those people that use the word use, right? So, like, when for instance, a lot of times during the day, we don't see these little chunks of time where we can kind of multitask, you know? I think nowadays, a lot of people are getting a little worry of multitasking, which you should be a little bit because, like, you don't want to overload your brain. I overload my brain a lot. But for instance, like little mindless tasks. Um, when you're exercising, that's one of my big ones. Like if you're doing running or other things you think you're mindless, other types of exercises that you think are mindless enough to listen to something, then that's the time where you can get your listening in, you know? So maybe you read like a little tiny short story or like a passage in your textbook, then you put that on your iPod and you just listen on repeat. And then what's great, I use Link, Steve Kaufman's software. So all the lessons on Link have the text with it. So whenever I'm listening and I hear a word that I'm like, wait, what is that word? I just pop up Link and then I scroll to where I am in the recording and there's the word, and then I can get I can 提醒自己. How do you say that? I can remind myself what that word is. And then, so this is where you want to, this is your 支点. Oh my god, I'm going to use too many Chinese words today. It's your point of torque, maybe? I mean, that probably makes sense enough. But it's like a point of torque where you can lever that time, those like times of mindless tasks to um, do some language learning. So, for instance, the times that I usually take to do my listening, and which is one of the most important and probably the most important task in language learning, is when I'm doing exercise, usually running, when I'm washing the dishes, when I'm doing laundry, um, when I'm cleaning the house, when I'm on commute, you know, walking, taking the bus. Um, Maybe I just want to take a nice promenade through the the park or something, or what's the other kind of stuff. But anyway, it's like that, those kind of times. You usually, what do people do in those times? Like if you look at people on the bus nowadays, you'll see people with their head down like this and just swiping on their phone like crazily, you know. And actually, you know, you could use the, instead of looking on Instagram or Facebook, or if you're in China, WeChat or Weibo or some or whatever, that you can use this time to learn languages. You can pull out your book, you can pull up an app like Link and read a little bit, or listen a little bit. You know, if you're on the bus, yeah, you can read then. And what I've heard is in England, a lot of people still read, which is good. Like, I wish people would do reading more. Um, so a lot of people actually give me the excuse that they're not learning a language, even when they're in the country. I've met some foreigners here in China that have lived here for years and years and don't speak any of the language. You know, they're here in the country and they say, I don't have time to learn Chinese, for instance. And I'm just like, you don't have any time not to learn it. If you're living in the country, then you're going to be a baby for the rest of your life if you don't learn the language. That's the problem. You're going to, if you're in a country, learn the language. Or else, I mean, maybe you're living in Sweden or some other country that most people speak it fairly well, English. Um, but the thing is, when they're all together, what language are they speaking? Not English. It's if you're in Sweden, they're talking to each other in Swedish because that's their language. And if you can't speak it, you're gonna always be out of the group. You know, you might think that you're still in the group even though even though you don't speak their language, but it's not like when you can speak the language. It's completely different, and really it is. So I haven't gotten that level in Swedish yet, so I'll still be the guy, the one American guy outside the group for a while. But I'm getting there. I've only studied for about a month or two, so, you know, whatever. But, so, the thing is, we need to find time. And you say you're busy, you're too busy, but it's not that you don't have any time to do it. You only need, if you want to keep a momentum in learning, you only need about 10-15 minutes a day, you know. It's better than just doing 1 hour a week, you know. You want to get that flow, you know. And eventually, maybe in the beginning, you feel very adverse to learning, but if you keep this little creek going, eventually it'll turn into a river. You just need to trust in the process and get into it, you know, get into the groove. And the thing is, just find 10-15 minutes, you know. But you got to, the other problem is the motivation, like I said before. You actually, maybe in the beginning you can only do 5 minutes because your brain is screaming at you to stop. Well, like, you just got to get over that bump, that 5-10 minute bump where your brain has a lot of adversity towards um, learning. And then try to, once you know this, try to get over that slowly and get into maybe 10-15 minutes a day, and then eventually a half hour. If you want to do fast, if you want to learn the language faster, it would be best to do like, hours a day. Like I do maybe 2-3 hours of Swedish every day, and that's cumulative with the listening, when I'm doing mindless tasks or commuting or exercising, whatnot. And also reading too, reading, like usually what I do is when I make a little time to read, and then when I'm commuting or have doing mindless tasks, I pull up the recording and I listen to the recording, and then of course running, you can, if you're, sometimes you can stop for maybe a minute or so just to listen and read at the same time, and that gives you a better picture of the text in your head. Really, like, it's almost like learning a piano piece or learning a piece by heart when you're playing an instrument, a musical instrument. You just kind of get this map of the piece in your mind. It's the same thing with this. You get a map of the text in your mind, and then it just, eventually you start getting that for the entire language. You see this map of the language in your mind, and you're able to navigate it very efficiently and very, it just becomes second nature. So when people say that they don't have enough time, what I know what they're really saying is, I'm too lazy to make the time. That's probably 90% of people. They don't actually not have time, it's just they're too lazy. And maybe they're tired out from work, but it's still laziness. And if you want to change your life, you gotta do something about it. You can't just always play the victim and blame your job or something. You gotta do something about it. You gotta figure out how to manage your life in a more efficient way. That's pretty much the crux of everything. Manage your life in a more efficient way. All right, well, that's all I have. That is all the knowledge I want to bestow onto you all today. But just wait around for another rousing episode of Languages as of Laz. And I really feel like I need to do some more, what do you call it? Gestures and facial expressions. Here's a facial expression for you. Bye.